You're welcome to Excellent Simplified Tutorials.
Alright, you're welcome to Excellent Simplified, and today I will be taking some questions on FSB 101. FSB 101. Now, from my screen, you can see it said the first question there. First, in answering any question, so long as the question is objective, read the instruction first. Now, instruction says answer all questions, shade correct options, submit question paper with answer booklet. So in answering any exam question, the first thing you do is to read the instruction. Now, secondly, when it comes to objective exams, you can use odd one out method. Odd one out. You see what I mean by that. So let's go straight to work. The first question here says cellular energy comes mainly from dash: A. Inorganic compounds, B. Lean meat, C. Deoxyribonucleic acid, D. Phosphoproteins, E. I guess they omitted E. Now, when they say cellular energy is produced in the mitochondria. That is cellular respiration. And cellular respiration involves a breakdown of substances like glucose. So basically, the answer to this question is supposed to be glucose. But since glucose is not in the option, E, we don't know what is supposed to be here, is a typo error from them. But since glucose is an inorganic compound can serve as the answer here. Lean meat cannot be the answer. The deoxyribonucleic acid, that's our DNA, carries genetic material and is not a source of energy. Phosphoproteins are proteins with phosphates attached. Now, the next question here, heteropolysaccharides are complex carbohydrates that yield the dash types of monomers on breakdown. Good. Now, when they say hetero, take note that hetero means different kinds. Hetero means different kinds. So the heteropolysaccharides are composed of different kinds of monosaccharides as building blocks. So the answer to this question is different. Different. A is the answer to this question. Now, question number 3. Question number 3 says glycogen is a form of stored carbohydrates in which organisms? Indicate the correct option. A says plants, B starch or humans, C animals and plants, D animals, E non-higher plants. Now, glycogen is a storage form of carbohydrates in animals, while starch is a storage form of carbohydrates in plants. So the simple answer to this question is D. Is D, not starch or humans. Humans do not store starch. It is only animals that store glycogen as a storage form of carbohydrates. So the answer here is D. The next question, question 4, says why do lipids store more energy than carbohydrates? Yes, you agree with me that lipids store more energy than carbohydrates, even if we refer to carbohydrates as energy giving foods. But lipids store more energy than carbohydrates. Now, this is the simple reason. A says are close to water. No. Now, I said use the odd one out. There are some options that are obviously wrong. Now, lipids store more energy than carbohydrates because they are closer to water. That's wrong. Have short chain carbon chains. No. Longer carbon chains than carbohydrates and proteins are greasy. For the fact that they are greasy does not make them store more energy. Human can drink lipids. How does that make them store more energy? So you see, we are left to just see longer carbon chains than carbohydrates and proteins. Lipids have longer carbon chains than carbohydrates and proteins. And so when the carbon chains are broken down in the form acetyl-CoA, it releases more energy. Now, the next question, number 5, is the central dogma of cell biology states that information flows from dash. Good. Now, the central dogma of molecular biology or cell biology states that information flows from the DNA through the messenger RNA to protein. Now, if you look at A says water molecules, then to atoms, wrong. From carbohydrates to lipids, then to no. Proteins to no. Proteins to no. Then E says from deoxyribonucleic acid, which is DNA, to messenger RNA, and then to protein. E is the answer here. You should note that the essential dogma of molecular biology is involved in the synthesis of protein, and we synthesize protein using information on the DNA. So the DNA is first transcribed to messenger RNA, then messenger RNA is now translated to protein. So E is the correct answer here. Good. Let's move on. Please, if you've not subscribed to my channel as you go on, please subscribe to this channel and hit on the bell notification so that you'll be notified when the next video is posted. All right, moving on to question 6. If you have any question also, or anything is not clear, drop it in the comment section. I will respond as soon as I can. Question number 6. A good quality dietary protein should have dash. Dietary proteins are proteins you get from the diet. Proteins you get from the diet are called dietary proteins. Proteins you get from your food. What should good quality dietary proteins contain? Is it no amino acids? Obviously wrong, because amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So there's no way protein will not contain amino acids. Limited amounts of amino acids. But why? No, it shouldn't. C says all the essential amino acids in sufficient quantities. D, combination of oil and milk. How can protein, dietary protein, contain oil and milk or bones? Obviously wrong. We are left to just C as our answer, odd one out. Now, all the essential amino acids in sufficient amount. Essential amino acids are those amino acids that the body cannot synthesize, and so we need them in our diets. So a good quality dietary protein should contain all the essential amino acids in sufficient amounts. Hope you are following. Question number 7. Osmosis is defined as dash. Osmosis is defined as dash. A says movement of materials from a region of high to a region of low concentration. B says movement of materials downhill. C says movement of water from a region of high to that of low concentration through a partially permeable membrane. This is any movement of materials involving expenditure of energy. E says movement against an energy gradient. One thing we should note about osmosis is a kind of passive transport. It does not require energy. And osmosis can be defined in 2 ways. You can write it down. That osmosis is the movement of solutes from the region of higher concentration, that is from region of higher solute concentration to region of lower solute concentration until equilibrium is established. Or you can define osmosis as the movement of water molecules from region of lower solute concentration to region of higher solute concentration. So that definition, the second definition I gave, can be seen as the movement of water molecules from high concentration to low concentration. Now, A says movement of materials from a region of high to a region of low concentration. B says movement of materials downhill. C says movement of water from a region of high to that of low concentration through a partially permeable membrane. And D says movement of materials involving expenditure of energy. Now let me test your knowledge on what I've said so far, what I've explained so far. Drop your answer in the comment section. Question 7, just drop it this way. Question 7, you drop the answer either A, B, C or D. Use the odd one out method. From the 2 definitions I've given, number 1, I said osmosis can be defined as the movement of solutes from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration until equilibrium is established. The second definition of osmosis, I said osmosis is the movement of water molecules from regions of lower solute concentration to a region of higher solute concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. So use the 2 definitions and fish out the answer. Drop it in the comment section. I'm waiting for you. Question number 8. Passive transport into cells will require all these except dash. Now, one thing you should note is I've said before that passive transport does not require energy. It is only active transport that requires energy. And there are three types of passive transport: osmosis, diffusion, and facilitated diffusion. Good. So, the passive transport into cells will require all these except dash. A says energy from cell. B involves water and small materials. C partially permeable membrane. D very large molecules. E include osmosis, diffusion, and facilitated osmosis. So it includes all these except energy from cells. A is the answer because just like I said earlier that passive transport does not require energy. So A is the answer. Moving on to the next question, number 9. Said lipids have hydrophilic tails and hydrophobic heads. True, false, not always. Okay, statement is true for proteins, none of the above. Alright, lipids have hydrophilic tails and hydrophobic heads. That's very, very wrong. It's very, very wrong. Lipids have hydrophilic head. Their heads can dissolve in water. When they say hydrophilic, water loving. So the heads are hydrophilic while the tails are hydrophobic. That will explain the structure of the lipid bilayer in our membrane. The lipids, the tails will hide themselves in the core, while the hairs will be exposed to water, to fluid, because the hairs are hydrophilic, they like water, while the tails are hydrophobic, they hate water. So the answer to this question is false, B. Now, anytime you see true or false questions, forget about other options, like in this case now, in this number 9, C, D, E. They can never be true. They can never be correct. Just focus on the true or false. Leave the other ones. Now, question number 10. Exoosmosis in extreme cases results in dash. Exoosmosis, that is movement of water outside the cell, can lead to A. Endoosmosis, no. Osmosis, no. Endocytosis, no. Plasmolysis and plantasmolysis. The answer there is plasmolysis. It can lead to the breakdown of the cell. If water is continually moving out of the cell can break down. Cell can break down. So plasmolysis is the answer there. Now 11 says if purple flower color is dominant to white color and these are crossed, what proportion of the offspring will be purple in the F1 generation? Now let's look at purple flower color as dominant, as the question stated, meaning let's say it's homozygously dominant and the white color is homozygously recessive. Now dominant is represented with capital letters, recessive is represented with small letters. So if we are using F to represent this information, purple flower color will be capital F, while white colored flower will be small f. Now if you cross this, you see that all the offsprings in the F1 generation will be one capital F and one small f. One capital F, one small f. That is, they are all heterozygously dominant, meaning all of them will be purple flowered color. All the flowers will have purple color. E is the answer in this case. Question number 12. Number 12 says, which of these is not an algae group? Algae. A says mycota. Mycota is a fungi. Platyhelminths is flat one. Escherichia coli, they are bacterium cells, bacteria. Mangifera indica is mango plant. So all of the above are not algae group. E is the answer because none of them falls under algae. Number 13. Chromosomes are made up of genes, which are in turn made up of strands of what? Is it RNA? Is it nucleus? Is it cytoplasm? Is it DNA? Is it cartilages? The answer obviously is D, DNA. Chromosomes are made up of genes. Then genes are made up of tons of coils of strands of DNA. Now DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid, and it all carries the genetic material. So they are found in genes. Genes are found in chromosomes. Good. Question number 14. Please, if you've not subscribed to this channel, click the subscribe button. It will cost you nothing. You're not paying for it, so just click the subscribe button. That is the only thing you owe me. If you have any questions, drop it in the comment section. I will respond. All right, moving on to the next question. The next question is number 14. The vegetative bodies of fungi comprise of strands called hypha, which associate to A, filaments, B, whatever, C, mycelia, D, spores, E, sporangia. Now, when hypha is like a thread-like substance, and when they come together, they form a mass called mycelia. Mycelia is a plural, mycelium is singular. So C is the answer here. 15. Phagocytosis can be defined as dash. Phagocytosis can be defined as dash. A, movement of materials into cells. B, movement of materials into living organisms. C, cell drinking. D, cell eating. E, all of the above. Now, phagocytosis is also called cell eating. Is the cell ingesting foreign materials and digesting it. That is cell eating. So phagocytosis, cell eating. You should not forget this. Phago, your first sound there, phago, food, food. Are you saying the chain? Phago, food. So cell eating. You don't drink food, you eat food. So phagocytosis is same as cell eating. Good. Number 16. The following are characteristics of prokaryotic cells, except the dash. Following are characteristics of prokaryotic cells except dash. Now, before we answer this question, you should note that prokaryotic cells, they lack cell membrane. Prokaryotic cells, they lack membrane-bound nucleus. Why? Eukaryotic cells, they have membrane-bound nucleus and organelles. Now, A says, the question again says the following are characteristic of prokaryotic cells except dash. A, presence of membrane-bounded organelles. You know, this is wrong because they don't have membrane-bound organelles. So the following are characteristic of except. So from A, we've gotten our answer. Presence of ribosomes. Yes, they have ribosomes and others, but the answer here is presence of membrane-bounded organelles, because the question says except. Alright, so C says absence of membrane-bounded nucleus. D says membrane-bounded organelles. E says absence of microtubules and microfilaments. We know all these are part of it except that they lack membrane-bound nucleus. So the answer to that question is actually A. Now, which of the following statements is not true? Which of the following statements is not true? A says archaea are found in extreme environments. Archaea is a type of bacteria and they are actually found in extreme environments. So this is true. The cell walls of eubacteria contains peptidoglycan. This is also true. The concentration of peptidoglycan in gram-negative bacteria is much lower than in gram-positive bacteria. This is gram-positive bacteria stain red or pink in the gram stain procedure. D is actually the answer to this question. Say which is not true. Now 18. Which of the following statements is not true? The cell is the functional unit of structure and function in living organisms. That's very true. Viruses are unicellular. No, that's wrong. So from here, you see, we didn't even finish it. We didn't even finish the options, and you see the correct answer already. Viruses are unicellular organisms. No, viruses are cellular. They don't have cell. They lack cells. So B is the correct answer here, because viruses are eukaryotic. They lack cell. They are not unicellular. They don't have cell at all. They don't have even one. Yeah. Other options they are correct. Question number 19. The following structures are present in eukaryotic cells except nuclear membrane. Yes, nuclear membrane is found there. We have nuclear membrane. Mitochondria, yes, the powerhouse of the cell. Mesosome. Chloroplast, yes. Eukaryotic cells have chloroplasts. Chromosomes, yes. Chromosomes are present. But you should know that chloroplast is just for plant cell, and plant cell is also eukaryotic. That is what makes chloroplast inclusive. Mesosome, we lack mesosome. Eukaryotic cells lack mesosome. So mesosome is the answer there. Question number 20. The following statements are correct for the cytoplasmic membrane of prokaryotic cells except dash. Following are correct. Following statements are correct for the cytoplasmic membrane. Cytoplasmic membrane, you can also see it as the cell membrane of prokaryotic cells except dash. A says it consists of a bilayer of phospholipids sandwiching a protein layer. B says the enzymes responsible for glycolysis are situated in the cell membrane. C says it is thrown into folds called mesosomes. D says the enzymes responsible for the Krebs cycle and the electron transport chain are located in the cell membrane. So what do you think is the answer there? I said the following statements are correct except which one? Except which one? So A, it consists of a bilayer of lipid. That's correct. B says the enzymes responsible for glycolysis are situated in the cell membranes. It is thrown into folds called mesosome. D is the answer here. It's the enzymes responsible for the Krebs cycle and the electrons are located in the cell membrane. Never. Krebs cycle, also called the TCA cycle, the enzymes are not located there. In fact, Krebs cycle takes place in the mitochondria, not even there, not even in the cell membrane. For glycolysis, the enzymes are located in the cytosol, which is much closer to cell membrane than what we are seeing here in the Krebs cycle. So, are correct except D. D is the correct answer here. Next question there, question 21. The functions of pili, in bracket, fimbri, include all the following except. That following but means except. So which one is not a function of the pili? A, it's used for attachment by eukaryotic cells. It's used for attachment by eukaryotic cells. B, used for attachment by prokaryotic cells. C, can facilitate pathogenicity in bacteria. D, enables the formation of conjugated tubules in bacteria. E says facilitates exchange of plasmid between bacterial cells. Good. The answer is very clear now. Now just ask yourself, are you a eukaryote or a prokaryote? So you're a eukaryote, right? Do you have pili in the first place? No. Eukaryotes does not use pili for attachment. So A is the answer there. Used for attachment by eukaryotic cells. Never. We don't use pili for attachment. We don't use pili for attachment. So, but it can facilitate exchange of plasmids between bacterial cells. It can do other things, but eukaryotes does not. Eukaryotes do not. Number 22. Number 22 there. Which statement is not true of the cell wall of eubacteria? Eubacteria are also called true bacteria. So which statement is not true about eubacteria? A says they gives the cell shape. B says provides a rigid structural support for the cells. C says protects the cells from harsh environments. D says site for Gram reaction. E says mycoplasma are eubacteria that do not possess cell walls. The question says which is not true. Site for Gram reaction is the answer there. 23. Eukaryotic cells possess the following organelles except, remember I said eukaryotes have membrane-bound nucleus, except A. Mitochondria we have. B. Plasmids. C. Lysosomes. D. Nuclear body, we have nucleus. E. Golgi body. Now, when you get to a question like this, you should be very careful. It said eukaryotic cells possess the following organelles except mitochondria. You're already sure of mitochondria, so let's do the odd one out. You're already sure of mitochondria, that it possesses mitochondria, so A is not the answer. Which one is obvious again here? Lysosome. You know lysosome, it contains lysosome for breakdown. Lysosome. Lysosome. So lysosome is out also. Golgi body or Golgi apparatus is out also. So you are left with plastids and nuclear body. You are left with plastids and nuclear body. Now, what is nuclear body? What is nuclear body? And what is plastid? Now, if you look at plastid, you can see plastids as all these chloroplast and other stuffs. If you look at nuclear body can be seen as a nuclear, the nucleus, found in the nucleus, while the plastids are the chloroplast, chromoplast, leucoplast. Those are the three plastids we have, and you can agree with me that plant cells, they have plastids. Now, but come to think of it, the question was specific to say eukaryotic cells. Now, eukaryotic cell does not have nuclear body as a distinct organelle. What we have is a nucleus. Does not have a nuclear body as a distinct organelle. Instead, the nucleus is membrane-bound organelle that contains the cell genetic material and not a nuclear body. So D is the correct answer here. You see that all the options are looking very similar. It takes you to pay close attention to details for you to note this out. Good. Now, the following statements are true for the endoplasmic reticulum except dash. A site for detoxification of toxins. B, a site for export of manufactured carbohydrates. C, site for the translation stage of protein synthesis. D, rough and smooth endoplasmic reticulum exists. E, site for export of proteins. They said except, which is not true. Now, the answer here is very, very obvious. A says a site for detoxification of toxins. That happens, yes. But B says a site for export of manufactured carbohydrates. Export of manufactured carbohydrates. That's wrong. That's wrong. So B is the answer. C says site for the translation stage of protein synthesis. That can be true because ribosome is found on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Good. Number 25. The following statements are true for mitochondria except dash. The Krebs cycle enzymes are located in mitochondria. I think I've said that before. So very, very true. B says the electron transport chain enzymes are located in the mitochondria. True. The enzymes responsible for glycolysis are located in no. C can never be true because the enzymes responsible for glycolysis is found in the cytosol. It's found in the cytosol and not in the mitochondria. So C is obviously the answer. Question number 26. The following statements are true for ribosomes except A. Structurally, they are composed of two fragments. B. They are the sites for translation stage of protein synthesis. C. They are the stage for the transcription stage of protein synthesis. D. Some ribosomes are attached to the endoplasmic reticulum. E. Mitochondria and chloroplasts possess ribosomes. Alright, so in that number 26, I will show you something now, a cheat used to answering questions like this. Two options are contradicting each other there. So once you see two options contradicting each other, just know the answer is between both of them. A says structurally they are composed. Let's leave that. B says they are sites for translation stage of protein synthesis. Then C says they are the stage for transcription stage of protein synthesis. I saying one is saying translation, the other is saying transcription. Obviously, C is wrong. They are the stage for the transcription stage of protein synthesis. That is the answer because the question says except. It is translation stage that takes place there. Remember when we talked about the central dogma of molecular biology or cell biology, we said from DNA to mRNA is transcription. From mRNA to protein is translation. So the synthesis of protein there is translation, not transcription. Good. And E says mitochondria and chloroplasts possess ribosomes. Very true. 27. Enzymes responsible for hydrolysis in the cells are contained in dash. Enzymes responsible for hydrolysis are found in A. Peroxisomes, B. Lysosomes, C. Autosomes, D. Ribosomes, E. Chromosomes. The equation is actually funny. The options are actually funny. All of them ending with some. But one of the sum is correct. So enzymes responsible for hydrolysis in the cells are contained in the lysosome. In the lysosome. That's the answer. Lysosome is the answer. Good, we are making progress, and please, you have to subscribe. Please click on the subscribe button. If you've not subscribed, I wonder what you're doing. Please just click on the subscribe button and subscribe. That's all, nothing more. Just click on the subscribe button. You are not paying for it. It's not like MTN subscription that they'll be cutting 50 naira or 20 naira from. You are not paying anything for it. It's totally free. That is the only thing you owe me. If you're gaining from this, please don't leave this page without clicking on the subscribe button. Thank you very much. All right, we move on, and I wish you success in your exam. Wish you huge success. Please pay attention to all these, and you'll see them in your exams tomorrow. Question number 28. The following statements are true except dash. The following statements are true except dash. A. Centrioles. B. The spindle consists of an array of microtubules. C. The flagella and cilia of eukaryotes are composed of microtubules. D. The flagella of eukaryotic cells are composed of microtubules. E. Centrioles do not play roles in meiosis. 28. The options look somehow, but there is an obviously wrong answer there. Centrioles do not play roles in meiosis. No, centrioles play roles in meiosis. So E is the correct answer there, because which all are true except dash. Centrioles, spindle fibers comes from centrioles, and centrioles, the spindle fibers, they help in the separation of the sister chromatids from each other. So centrioles do play roles in meiosis. E is the correct answer there. Now the next question there, question 29, says the following statements are true of the nucleus of eukaryotic cells except dash. A. Are surrounded by nuclear membrane. B. Contain chromosomes. C. Contain a nucleus consisting of RNA. D. Contain DNA. E. Are not surrounded by nuclear membrane. Can you see the obvious answer there? Very, very obvious. That number 29, it said are not surrounded by nuclear membrane. A says are surrounded by nuclear membrane. E. Are not surrounded by nuclear membrane. Remember what I said before, when you see two contradicting options like this, the answer is between one of them. But the question says nucleus of eukaryotic cells, and you know eukaryotic cells are membrane bound. So the answer there is E, because they say are true except. So E, are not surrounded by a nuclear membrane. We already know it's surrounded by nuclear membrane. So E is the odd one out there. Good. Alright, the next question, we're making progress. The next question there, question 30. Kinetic energy is the dash. Wow, what a bonus. A. Ability to do work. B. Is the energy of motion. C. Is stored of energy. D. Is the energy in a glucose molecule. E. Energy in a concentration gradient. Should I leave this for you to answer in the comment section? Alright, we already know that it is the energy of motion. Energy in motion is kinetic energy. So B is the correct answer there. Question 31. Which of the following is not correct? Which of the following is not correct? A says an atom or molecule that loses an electron is said to be oxidized. B. An atom or molecule has a higher level of energy than the oxidized form. There is no option C here. D says the reduced sum of a molecule has a lower level of energy than the oxidized form. E says oxidation and reduction takes place together. Good. Now let's use this to still illustrate the odd one out. Two contradicting options here. Let's focus on option A and option D. Option A says an atom or molecule that lost an electron is said to be oxidized. Then D is saying, option B and option D. Let's look at option B and option D. Option B says an atom or molecule has a higher level of energy than the oxidized form. Then D says the reduced sum of a molecule has a lower level of energy than the oxidized form. The two options are contradicting. Now, because B says an atom or molecule has a higher level of energy than the oxidized form, then D says the reduced sum has a lower energy than the oxidized form. No. So the correct answer there is D. D is not correct. So D is the answer. An atom that is oxidized, an atom or molecule, has a higher level of energy than the oxidized form is correct, but D is the correct answer here. Question 32. Energy flows through the ecosystem in one direction from the sun through dash. A. Photosynthetic organisms to herbivores to carnivores to omnivores to decomposers. Without reading all the options, you can pause the video and read all the options, but A is the correct answer, because photosynthetic organisms, they, like plants, they tap the sunlight energy and make food. Herbivores feed on them. Carnivores feed on the herbivores. Herbivores like goats feed on the plants. Carnivores like lion can feed on goats. Omnivores like man, that will feed on everything, can feed on the lion. Decomposers, when human beings die, when omnivores die, decomposers break them down. So that is the flow of energy through the ecosystem. A is the correct answer there. Question number 33. All consumers are examples of dash. A. Autotrophic. B. Holozoic. C. Heterotrophic. D. Chemoautotrophic. E. Photoautotrophic. And E. Photoautotrophic. We have two E's here. Now, that answer, the option is very, very obvious. One thing you should note is autotrophs can manufacture their food, so they cannot be consumers. And if you don't call them autotrophs, what do you call them? Call them holophytes, right? Now, B says holozoic organisms, and E says heterotrophic organisms. Now, the correct option here is actually C. In question 33, the correct option is C, heterotrophic organisms. Now, you might ask why. Holozoic nutrition is a form of heterotrophic nutrition, but all consumers are heterotrophic. Now, 34. Bioenergetics is the study of dash energy transformation in a closed system. B. Energy conversion in a biological system. C. Energy conversion in a biological system. So B says energy conversion in a biochemical system. C says energy conversion in a biological system. D. Energy transformation in an open system. And E says energy transformation in an isolated system. So one thing you should note there is bio. Bio means living, right? So your answer must contain living or anything related to living. Energetics, we are talking about energy changes, energy conversion, or energy transformation. So the answer there is obviously C, energy conversion in a biological system, because energetics is energy conversion, then bio there is biological. So energy conversion or energy transformation in a biological system is the correct answer there. C is the answer. Question number 35. Which of the following statements is not correct for the first law of thermodynamics? A says energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change from one form to another. Very correct. B says energy can change from potential energy to chemical energy. Okay. C says the total number of energy in the universe is a constant. Wow, is that so? D says the total amount of energy in an open system is constant, and E says there is exchange of energy and matter in a closed system. That question 35, the question is which is not correct. Which is not correct. Now use the odd one out and drop the answer in the comment section there. And drop the answer in the comment section there. Said because the answer there is very, very obvious. Now let me state the first law of thermodynamics. The first law of thermodynamics is stated in option A. The energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but can be converted from one form to another. So which is not correct about the first law of thermodynamics? Good. Can we move on? All right, the next question 36. The following statements are correct for the second law of thermodynamics. Now, if you look at this question, they not say except. The following statements are correct for the second law of thermodynamics. A says the disorder in the universe is increasing. B, the entropy in the universe is increasing. C, disorder is more likely to occur than order. D, energy transformation proceeds spontaneously to convert matter from a more ordered, less stable form to a less ordered but more stable form. E, disorder is less likely to occur than order. Disorder is more likely to occur than order. If you look at this, in fact, the disorder is more likely to occur than order. Disorder is less likely to occur than order. You see that they are both contradicting each other there. And the question says the following statements are correct for the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics. Now, I think the equation is not complete, except would have been there because everything there is correct apart from option E, which says disorder is less likely to occur than order. You and I know that disorder is more likely to occur than order. And the second law of thermodynamics is talking about increase in order, increase in disorderliness, increase in entropy. So all other options are correct apart from E. The equation is supposed to be except E. Now 37. The net effect amount of energy actually available to break and subsequently form other chemical bonds is called dash. A, enthalpy. B, entropy. C, Gibbs free energy. D, exergonic energy. E, endergonic energy. The answer there is Gibbs free energy. Gibbs free energy is energy available to do useful work, which is breaking a bond and reforming another. Question 38. The enthalpy when the chemical energy releases heat is. Now, enthalpy, enthalpy is represented with delta H. S is entropy. G is Gibbs free energy. Now, change in enthalpy, which is delta H, when it releases heat, that is exergonic, right? Is what? When its energy is released, of an endothermic and exothermic. So when heat is released, it is exothermic, right? And the delta H is always negative. So B is the correct answer there. Delta H is negative. Next question there, 39. When the product of a reaction are less complex and more disordered than the reactants, the reaction systems with a dash. The reaction proceeds with a dash. Now they are talking about orderliness and disorderliness now, which is entropy, right? So we are going to look at. So the answer falls between A or D, delta S minus delta S or delta S. But excuse me. But what is actually the right answer? The answer I said. The question says when the products of a reaction are less complex and more disordered than the reactants, the reaction proceeds with a positive delta S. D is the correct answer there. It's less complex and more disordered. Delta S will be that of the products minus that of the reactants. So if that of the reactant is more disordered than that of the reactant, we will have a positive value of delta S. Question number 40. When the products of a reaction are more complex and less disordered, this is the opposite of the last question we answered, than the reactant, the reaction proceeds with a dash. So you should guess the answer. when the products of a reaction are more complex and less disordered. So if you are looking for delta S will be product, that of the product minus the reactant. And since product is less than the reactant, we have a negative value. So A is the answer there. Question 41. Question 41 says, in a spontaneous reaction, A, delta G, B, delta S, C, delta H, D, endergonic reaction. Okay, that 41, you can see that the equation there is not complete. In a spontaneous reaction, what happened? What happens to the options you are given? So in that case, we cannot do anything about that question because it's not complete. But in your exam, you can tick something because there will be no chance for you to come and explain that the equation is not complete. So if you have to take something from there, I will go with option A, because in a spontaneous reaction, free energy should be there. Delta S and in fact D is obviously out, endergonic. Spontaneous reactions are not endergonic. But delta G, delta S, delta H, they didn't tell us what to do about it. So next question, 42. The breakdown of glucose into pyruvic acid is an example of dash. That's actually glycolysis, breakdown of glucose to pyruvic acid. So breakdown, is it catabolic or anabolic? We are breaking down something, right? So it's catabolic reaction. So B is the answer. Breakdown, catabolism. Good. 43. The following statements are correct for enzymes except dash. A. Enzymes are specific for the substrates they catalyze. Correct. Enzymes are specific in action. B. The active site is located on the enzyme. Correct. C. The active site is located on the substrate. Never. How can the active site of an enzyme be located on the substrate? So C is the odd one out there. The enzyme can be reused. Yes, enzyme can be reused because they are not used in the reaction. The enzyme lower the activation energy for the reaction to start. Correct. So the correct answer there is the active site is located on the substrate, which is wrong. So C is our answer. Question 44. When the change in free energy is positive, the reaction is dash. The reaction is endergonic. Now, when we talk about this free energy, we use endergonic and hexagonic. But when we talk about enthalpy, we use endothermic and exothermic. So when it is positive, it's endergonic, and when it's negative, it's hexagonic. So the answer there is C, endergonic. Question number 45. The following statement is correct for glycolysis except dash. A. 2 ATP molecules are used up. Yes, 2 molecules of ATP are used up in the activation stage of ATP. So that is correct. B says 2 NADH molecules are produced. Yes, I think in step 7 of glycolysis, 2 NADH molecules are used in oxidative phosphorylation. C says H ATP molecules are produced. I think that should be a mistake there. I don't know the number they wanted to write. This is there is a net production of 2 ATP molecules, which is correct. 2 ATP. Actually, 4 ATPs are produced, but 2 were used to pay off. So we had a net ATP of 2 ATPs. Now E, 2 ATP molecules are produced. Good. So in 45, E is the answer there. 2 ATP molecules are produced. It's a lie. It is 4 ATP molecules that were produced, but we used 2 to pay off. So we have a net production of 2 ATP, but it is not 2 ATP that we actually produce. So E is the correct answer there. Alright, please, just like I've said earlier, go and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and give me a like if you're enjoying the lesson. Now, question 46. Conjugated proteins are also known as dash. Conjugated, when they say something is conjugated, is attached to something. So protein attached to something is conjugated protein. It's also called complex proteins. A is the answer. Question 47. Carbohydrates are saccharides and are grouped into dash. Carbohydrates are saccharides and are grouped into dash. Now we can group carbohydrates into monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. Monosaccharide, just one sugar unit. Oligosaccharide, few sugar units, maybe from 2 to 8. or 2 to 12, depending on the classification book you're using, and polysaccharides many, so it's actually 3. A is the answer there. 48. Amino acids are dash. A says insoluble in water. B, only carboxyl groups. C says building blocks of proteins. Obviously the answer C is the answer, building blocks of proteins. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. Next one, 49. Based on shape, proteins are classified into dash and fibrous. Based on shape, we can classify proteins into globular protein and fibrous protein. So A is the answer there. Question 50. Simple proteins are also known as dash. Simple proteins are also known as dash. Now, that question there, A says kineprotein, B says cytoproteins, C says megaproteins, D haloproteins, E heteroproteins. Now, the correct answer there is haloproteins. Haloproteins are simple proteins. 51. Nucleic acids are of 2 types, dash and dash. You and I know that nucleic acids are DNA and RNA. Take note of the options before you tick, because the options, they are trying to confuse you with similar letters. So DNA and RNA, which is option D, DNA and RNA. Deoxyribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid are the two types of nucleic acid we have. Question 52. DNA is also known as, now they want to use spelling confusion now. Deoxyribonucleic acid is the answer. So looking carefully at the option there, option C is the correct answer. Option C is the correct answer. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid is the correct answer there. Not DZ. No, C is the answer. 53 there says attraction between molecules of different substances as seen of water molecules is known as, is it cohesion, adhesion, gumming, all of the above, none of the above? The answer there is adhesion. Now, if you look at the spelling of adhesion, AD, so you can use this D here, to get that attraction between different substances, molecules of different substances. Cohesion is between molecules of the same substance, as can be seen in mercury. So B is the correct answer here. Question 54. Communication between cells and insects occur in how many ways? Communication between cells and insects occur in how many ways? Now, it actually occurs in 4 ways. Communication between cells and insects occur in 4 ways. Alright, this is the correct answer there. 55. Osmosis is dash. Is it active transport, passive transport, exocytosis, phagocytosis, pinocytosis? Saying we've settled this before, that osmosis is a type of passive transport. It does not require energy. Now, 56. The transportation of materials that involve ions and charged particles in the cell is called endocytosis and exocytosis. Active transport, passive transport, none of the above, phagocytosis. The answer clearly here is none of the above. None of the above. When you're transporting a charged molecule, that is ion transport. You use ion channels or ionophores. But the question says transportation of materials that involve ions and charged particles in the cell. Good. Alright, next question there says bulk materials can be transported in the cell through dash. Big materials, bulk materials can be transported through active transport. Because they cannot move on their own. 58. One of these is not a type of evolution. Polymerization, natural selection, macroevolution, microevolution, large scale evolution. So A is the answer there. Polymerization is not. 59. The Neo-Darwin theory of evolution. A recognizes symbiosis. B recognizes natural selection. C fixed and provided evidence of descent. D recognizes the importance of mutation and variation. The answer there is all of the above. All of these are Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Question 60. The modern man was first discovered in dash. The modern man, you've heard of the modern man, was first discovered in Africa. So an applause for you. 61. One of these is not an evidence of evolution. One of these is not an evidence of evolution. A says gene variation, B fossil records, C embryological records, D cell division, E ribosomal RNA sequencing. E is the answer there. It's not an evidence of evolution. Alright, 62. Prokaryotic cell can only divide through one of these. Is it binary fission? Is it mitosis? Is it cytoplasmic streaming? Is it none of the above? Is it meiosis? So that question 62, you have to look at it very well, because mitosis is cell division, meiosis is cell division, binary fission is cell division, and meiosis is, it only takes place in reproductive cells. Now prokaryotic cell can only divide through binary fission, one cell dividing into two. One cell dividing into two. They cannot divide by mitosis, because mitosis, as we said, in mitosis there is a nuclear membrane there. If you can check, mitosis is in 4 phases: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, right? And in prophase, in late prophase, you see that the nuclear membrane will start to degenerate. But prokaryotes, they don't have nuclear membranes, so mitosis cannot take place in prokaryotes. What takes place in prokaryotes is binary fission, one cell dividing into two. Question number what now? Question number 63. 63. The cell division that occurs in somatic cells. Somatic cells are non-sex cells. Somatic cells are non-sex cells. The answer there is mitosis. The answer there is mitosis, because meiosis only takes place in sex cells, not somatic cells. The next question there is question 64. Question 64. Meiosis is only seen dash. A says anaphase, B ureter, C says in the kidney, in the gonads, E somatic cells. The option here is obviously D, in the gonads. Gonads are your sex cells. Testes for males and ovaries for females. The sex organs. Testes for males and ovaries for females. So that's the gonads, and that is where meiosis takes place, because it's involving reproduction. Question number 65. The first phase of cell division is called A says cell cycle, B metaphase, C meiosis, D mitosis, E sporulation. It's actually mitosis. Mitosis is the first phase of cell division. 66. The homologous pair of chromosomes are joined at where? The sister chromatids, or the homologous chromosomes, are joined at A says centromere, B says chiasmata, C says nucleus, D chromatids, E chromatin. So the answer there is centromere. Centromere is what joins the two sister chromatids, or the homologous pair of chromosomes together. Centromere, A is the answer. Question number 67. We are almost getting to the end of the question. Please subscribe, and give me a thumbs up if you gain something from this video. Question number 67. One of the following is a way of sexual reproduction in protozoa. One of the following is a way of of sexual reproduction in prokaryotes. A, in protozoa, A says transformation, B consummation, C says transduction, D conjugation, and E transfection. So the answer there is conjugation. Conjugation is referred to as sexual reproduction in prokaryotes. Transformation is actually a way of reproduction there, but it's not sexual. Transduction also is not sexual. The answer there is conjugation, which is referred to as sexual reproduction in prokaryotes. Good. Question 68. A mitosis could be called any of the following except A, simple cell division, B, direct cell division, C, closed cell division, D, mitosis, E, none of the above. So the answer there is D. A mitosis cannot be called mitosis. Mitosis cannot be called mitosis, but it can be called simple cell division, can be called direct cell division, can be called closed cell division, but cannot be called mitosis. Question number 69. In mitosis, chromosomes replicate into the diploid state. True or false? In mitosis, chromosomes replicate into the diploid state. A, true. B, false. The answer is actually true. Remember that in mitosis, the same number of we retain the number of genetic material as in the parent cell. So the daughter cell have the same genetic material as the parent cell. Question number 70. Karyo, karyokinesis. Karyokinesis is subdivided into how many phases? Karyokinesis is divided into four phases. D is the correct answer there. We've gotten to number 70. That's the end of that year, and I believe you learned a lot. Please give me a subscribe. Drop a comment. What do you think about this video? Drop it in the comment section. If you have any questions that I did not check, question that was you, drop it in the comment section also, or I as soon as I see. Thanks.